Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. I'm going to be chatting today with Santa Surfing and AMC for All in regards to financial chaos. Banks are collapsing all around us, and it's only a matter of time before things get significantly worse. Let's pop right in right now. Let's jump right into the stream altogether. What's up, everybody? Edgar, Shane, good to see you guys. Bookman. Let's let them know. Just popping this video up right now. Let's switch it over.
This meeting is being recorded.
Wow, that was obnoxious. My apologies, my friends. Hey, can you guys hear me? Let's see. Camera's being used by other apps. Excellent. Don't know how I'm going to fix that. I've done it before.
Talking about a lot of different stuff. There's so much going on. There's Butcher. He is joining in. Boss Blitz, the Butcher of Wall Street. Marcel will be joining shortly.
Hey, you guys.
Connecting audio now. There he is.
It's good to be here with you guys.
And melodious, sweet and silky sound of Boss Blunts.
Hardly. All the blunts and cigarettes haven't exactly helped my voice out much.
Well, it gives you that nice gritty kind of, hi, I'm Boss Blunts. My voice is very gravelly from all the cigarettes.
Excuse me while I spark up another.
How are you, boss? How are you?
Let me know when you get a YouTube link too, boss, and I'll put it out. Oh, there you are.
Excellent. Yeah, we are live now. I got a YouTube link coming your way. There we go. Shout out to you guys here.
Tweet. So how was your weekend, Marcel?
All is well, my friend. No complaints here.
I like it.
Yeah, just found
A lot
out
of stuff
that.
come out this weekend.
What's that? Yeah, we had some good releases this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy is out.
Mhm.
Came out with some really strong numbers, over 113 million domestically over the weekend.
It's a hell of a start domestically, for sure.
I agree.
So I want to kind of introduce, if it's okay if I interject a little bit.
Please do.
My locals audience is predominantly on a little bit of everything, kind of a smattering of everything from financial news to geopolitics to. So just to let you know, anybody from the locals or Santa Surfing channels, and you're listening or watching this and going, okay, what's this all about? Is she going to start crying? Is she going? No, I mean.
She might.
From laughter, who knows?
I am mean sometimes.
So just to let you know, oh yeah, you're real mean. Ow! No, you're not. AMC for All is an investor and invests in. He's an ape. He's an investor, and the Butcher of Wall Street, also known as Boss Blunts on the Twitter and on his, and he's also known the Butcher of Wall Street on YouTube. He has his own investment company, and maybe you can kind of give a little bit of an introduction on that, because somebody did ask me about that. And then also, he also is really, they both are heavily into how the financial news, what it's all about, and how it ties into like the kind of like the current events of today. And I'm more of the, wow, you guys really, and then I literally have to put myself, like, hide my screen because I am in shock because of the stuff they share. So but I kind of see it and listen to it, and then I kind of want to tie it all into like how it ties into current events. But and you two keep wanting me back, and I'm thinking, I love you guys. I don't know why, because you guys could have a great show, just the two of you. But maybe I ask questions that the person that's really not well versed may think about, but may not ask. So that's kind of where I'm at. So thanks so much for the invite. I appreciate it. They both have their lives going on. I don't have mine live because I can't figure out how to do a live on Rumble. So anyway.
I can help you with that, actually, Santa.
Okay.
So if you want help with it, it's actually not that bad.
Okay.
But yeah, she does have it live on her locals. She's actually got my Rumble stream living over to her locals.
Yeah. So Perfect. Anyway, they will ask questions, and those on locals are. Hi, everybody on locals. We usually have live streams, but we don't usually do anything like this. So we usually go to the beach and start talking about other stuff, about life and living and things like that. Okay.
Sounds fun too.
Let's see. So we've got a few people in there. They'll start asking questions once you guys start talking. So the first thing was I don't know. Where do you guys want to start? Because I mean, there was a ton of stuff.
Let me start off real quick by saying thank you, Santa. Don't sell yourself short here. Santa Surfing's got an awesome Rumble channel and Telegram channel as well. I'll put the links up to that for our viewers here in the think tank. And I really appreciate you. Yeah, you do ask some phenomenal questions that maybe some people that are that have been in the meme stock community or precious metals community for a long time may not think about. Because we've just like inherently come up with these ideas in our head and discuss them for so long that we may not know what normal like non-invested people would actually think about them or what questions you have. So yeah, you bring great insights, and love being here with you as well, Santa, as well as Aaron. Aaron is AMC for All Telegram channel, and Santa Surfing is Santa Surfing Telegram and Twitter and Rumble as well. You guys should definitely check them out. But yeah, my name is Marcel Kalinovic. I'm the Butcher of Wall Street on YouTube, and on Twitter I'm Boss Blunts 1. And basically, I'm a retail investor, an entrepreneur. I own a couple of companies, and one of those, the more recent company that we started in September of 2021, is called Lit Exchange. And Lit Exchange is currently not licensed as a broker dealer, but we are in the development stages with our application and becoming a registered and licensed broker dealer with FINRA. So that takes a long time, and we, unlike certain other exchanges like Bittrex, which has just been sued by the Securities Exchange Commission and today filed for bankruptcy because they were sued by the Securities Exchange Commission for operating an unregistered securities exchange. We're actually doing things properly. So that's why we've been in development for about a year and a half now, going on 2 years. And we expect to launch as a fully licensed and regulated stock market and cryptocurrency exchange called Lit Exchange later this year. So you guys, you can check us out on litexchange.com with no E at the beginning of exchange, litexchange.com, if anybody wants to sign up for the beta or just to get updates from us. But yeah, we're retail investors that are on a mission to get trades out of the OTC, out of the over-the-counter trades, out of dark pools, and put them directly on lit markets, like through the NYSE and through the Investors Exchange and things like that, so that people's dollars actually have proper price discovery, So yeah, that's a little bit about myself and Lit Exchange for those that were wondering, because when I see companies like Robinhood out there claiming that trades are commission free, it's absolute bullshit, and I think we all know that. As a matter of fact, in 2021, the SEC also nailed Robinhood with a $65 million fine because they found that retail investors were actually worse off by $34.1 million, even accounting for those commission-free trades. Nothing in life is free, so we're dedicated to bringing about, actual commission-based trades where people know exactly what they're paying and what they're getting, and that they get proper price execution on top of it. I think that's really important. As an investor, I know that's what I would want, and that's what it seems like the majority of well-educated stock market investors are also looking for.
So could I say that you would be like I remember when E-Trade first got started. Yes, that does date me. And I used to go to their little office over it was like in the South Bay, and make a deposit. Is that kind of what you're doing? But again, it's going to be on a commission basis, not necessarily per transaction. And you're going to be operating, you're going to be fully licensed and regulated by FINRA, correct? So
yep.
Is that what you? Okay.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah. Just like E-Trade.
Don't forget the little guys. Don't forget the little guys.
We are the little guys. That's the thing. It's like we are the little guys, and that's why we're working so hard to make a difference and create a broker dealer that's actually looking out for retail, because they don't exist. You look at Robinhood, you look at Webull and Schwab and all these other cats, and none of them give a shit about retail investors, how much this costs them, whether their stocks are manipulated or not. and are even actively working against them, like Bittrex and FTX, who came out with these tokenized securities without actually owning the underlying asset, like AMC and GameStop and Cost and so on. And so that's a really big conflict of interest to see that they actually pulled the buy button on, that so many broker dealers pulled the buy button. And what that means is they've made it so that on January 28th, 2021, people could not buy AMC or GameStop or Cost and several other meme stocks. They could only sell them. So people freaked out, and some people sold some of their shares. And the only ones that were able to buy them were market makers and hedge funds and family offices and so on. And that was a big, I allege that well, there's proof of it, but I still got to say legally, I allege that there was a giant collusion scheme between the clearinghouses like Apex and Citadel and the broker dealers and the crypto exchanges and as well as some of the prime brokers. So the majority of these people and companies don't give two shits about the retail investor. They just want to make as much money off of them as possible and never give them the ability to actually make money in the markets. And it's time for that to change,
Well, and see, this is why I think you're having your own YouTube, your live show. You've already developed the trust from your audience. You've explained things. You explained things to me in the last 2-3 podcasts that we've done together. And even when the three of us are chatting in the chat room where we're trying to come up with topics, you really do enlighten us and somebody who's not well versed, who's not. All I am is a retail investor, but that's it. I don't know the ins and outs, the details of. I'm curious, but I wouldn't even know where to begin. And you explain it to me like I'm a third grader, and I really appreciate that.
I hope it doesn't come off in diminutive fashion at all.
I came up with that meme, by the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't mean to be,
kidding.
Diminutive in any way. I just try to explain things as simply as possible because we could go into things in great depth and it would bore half the people to sleep, so I try to keep it as concise as possible. I hope that helps.
You're the you're the no malarkey kind of guy too. I mean, whereas these others, they tout their.
She almost said it.
I was almost in the penalty
She
box.
almost said it, folks.
But I didn't.
I had my finger on the record button.
What's nice is that all these quote unquote experts and analysts and all these zillion of initials by their name, and they tout those initials because what they share is garbage. And with you may have the initials, but you are just like in the trenches. Aaron, you're in the trenches. When I am lost and I literally have the what, Aaron, you come to me and say, okay, let me explain this to you, and like you're a second grader, and I'm like, oh, now I get it, and then I run with it. But when I don't get it, then people don't know I think the biggest problem people have, especially with what's coming up, and I think that you're starting your business at the right time too, is people don't know what they don't know. And right now we're learning that there's dirty everything. We'll eventually learn IRS is dirty, Fed Reserve is dirty, Janet Yellen. Sorry about that.
Yep.
That's
My
Boston's
ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend you talked about there. Be
Oh,
careful.
jeez. She brings up some bad memories.
No. Hey, we all, hey, I won't tell you who my favorite, I had some BFFs in the past, and I won't go there because I know Cooch is going to start making some memes about it. So I don't want those memes. But so I think it's really important, and I think it's really great because what it does is also it makes you approachable. It makes you, Aaron, approachable. You have a channel, Aaron, where you invited people to come and hang out with you and ask questions, and you probably have people raising their hands already, ready to ask a question.
I'm a goofy. I'm a goofball. And people apparently like that shit. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But here's the thing: is I wanted to touch on that you said that Boss and I explain it like third grade, fourth grade kind of explanations. Well, there's an absolute need for that in the markets because the markets are ridiculously complex. They're way overcomplicated, and they're built that way for a reason. They are built that way so that way the regular investor, you, I, us, just regular, normal people, us apes, can't win. That's why it's overcomplicated just for that one reason. So. I happen to understand a lot of it. So does Boss, and there's other people in the community that are the same way. And it's about educating. It's about making sure people understand what's going on, or at least a basic idea of what's going on. Because like anything, if you invest money into something, you want to understand what's going on. You know, us being able to make it less complex is a benefit.
Well, and I think, you know, again, just the insight you give, like for an example, there was the Nathan Anderson article, and you knew, boss, who he was. Okay, so Nathan Anderson, here, I'll drop this again. I'll just, let's see, what do? Is that what I do? It's called They're Eating Their Own. Nathan Anderson started calling out Carl Icahn, and you knew about Nathan Anderson, boss.
The Hindenburg research guy, yeah.
Okay, so he's narking, he's like totally exposing Carl Icahn for manipulating. Let's see, Icahn has been using money taken from investors to pay out dividends to old investors, and I don't know how to put this up on a screenshot here, but
Right in for you. I'm already on it.
Are you? Thank you.
No, you do.
And so I find it interesting because
I would, but you disabled screen sharing.
oh, did I? Did I? Oh, did
It's
I?
okay.
Oh, here, wait a minute. Speech. Here, hang on. Oh, multiple. Here we go. Okay.
To help
Voila.
Ability.
Bingo.
I was trying to help Aaron with something technical, and he goes, Santa, remember, I'm the technical person. I'm like, oh, yeah, right.
I think you guys can see that.
Yes, it's perfect.
Paint, as you know. I am
So
a
here-
pro. Only pros use paint.
Here's another Wall Street personality. Nathan Anderson decided to come out just out of the blue last week. Icahn Enterprises, which is Carl Icahn or I cannot, has been inflating its stock using accounting gimmicks, overvaluing its own investments. Wouldn't you think that there would be boots on the ground arresting him right now? No, Icahn. And then down here, Icahn has been using money taken in from new investors to pay out dividends to old investors. And then down here it says such Ponzi scheme-like economic structures are sustainable only to the extent that new money is willing to risk being the last one holding the bag. So you had some information on this, and you both did, and I was like, I didn't see it that way. I don't know who Nathan Anderson is, but I think this is important because this guy, apparently a short seller, right? Big time short seller. He's like totally exposing Carl Icahn for manipulating the markets right there. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'll let Aaron expand on this if he wants to, but I just basically think that, you know, Hindenburg Research really did a number on a couple of companies, mainly an Indian company. I can't exactly remember the name right now, but I know most people here can remember just a few months ago. And there was a multi-billion-dollar company, and they pretty much fallen apart for the most part. You know, they're still in business, but they're a fraction of their former self. And now it looks like, you know, Hindenburg Research is calling out Icahn. And, I mean, they make a lot of money off these things. But I think it's really funny because they're basically just they're doing very high level, you know, like graduate study type research on these companies and putting it out as due diligence on the internet, and people are gravitating towards it and being like, oh yeah, that might be a problem. And you know, and some retail investors seem to jump on it, and it really shakes things up in the markets. So I give them Anderson, you know, props for, you know, being able to leverage, you know, his company and naming a Twitter account or a company, Hindenburg Research, which is potentially basically just a hedge fund, and then, you know, putting out hit pieces against companies is a fairly effective way of you know, manipulating markets in itself. But is it manipulation or is it just exposing the truth? One has to think. I would say it's just exposing the truth if it's actual real allegations, you know?
Well, and then I find it interesting too, because he's a short seller. Okay, so this is how my mind thinks. Okay, so I go down this rabbit hole, and then I'm all of a sudden 2 days later, the news about short selling comes out, and it looks like that's imminent. Zero Hedge was posting about short selling.
Yeah.
Is okay. Let's see.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff on that one.
Do you? Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, in 2008, this is directly out of the 2008 playbook. 2008, they stopped short selling on the financial sector, on the banks. And what was the next thing that happened? The fucking crash and margin calls everywhere. So, I mean, that's where we're at right now. And that actually ties into this that we have up on the screen with the Nathan Anderson and, you know, everything being a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing is a giant Ponzi scheme. Now, I'm not going to just assume that everybody knows what a Ponzi scheme is, so I'm just going to explain it very briefly as to what it is. Santa, if I was running a Ponzi scheme and I came to you and I said, hey, Santa, if you give me $1,000 in 1 year, I will give you 1,500 back. So you will make 50% return in 1 year. And you're like, all right, that seems pretty, I like that. Here you go. Here's your $1,000. So then I take Santa's $1,000 and I just keep it. I just keep it. I don't actually invest it in anything. And then I go to boss and I say, hey, boss, I got this really good investment opportunity. And if you give me $2,000, I will return $3,000 to you in a year. And you're like, well, fuck that. I mean, I make plenty of money on other trades and stuff. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me get you 100% in like 6 months. And you're like, all right, what the hell? Here's $2,000. So then I take the $2,000 and I take 1,500 of it and I pay Santa her interest payment, her 1,500 back. But then I still keep the 500 from boss. I never actually invested in anything. But now I owe him $3,000. So now I have to go to find somebody else and say, hey, or a bunch of somebody else's. And basically that's what it is. So the thing with the Ponzi scheme is it works great for a little while, but there gets to be a point where there's no more fucking new money to put in. Like it literally gets to the point where it's like, okay, nobody is buying into this bullshit anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening here. But that's also kind of what's happening with the banks and everything else right now. Like it's a literal Ponzi scheme. They're the derivatives and everything else that's happening. There's just no new money to come in, and that's why the shit is coming down. That's why all these banks are coming down. On top of the fact that the Fed is raising the interest rates, which are making the bonds and everything. It's just changing their whole numbers. Like everything is just getting completely thrown out the window. Uh-huh. So you look at 2008. That's the playbook. Stop the shorts on the banks. So my next thought is we're going to see it like 2008 on steroids play out because they're doing the exact same playbook.
So back in 2008, they actually did stop the shorts. Is that what happened?
They did. They stopped the shorts in the banks.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Yeah, I did not. I wasn't paying attention. I just had somebody make investments for me, a buddy of mine, and I'm like, hey, can you just go ahead and here's my money, and can you just make it good, please? And that's what they did. But so I wasn't paying attention, and this didn't really interest me. I was too busy. I was just more about did I make or did I lose money? But I didn't know that. And then didn't they also create that, crisis back then, the Ponzi schemes, everything else, the MBS schemes, all that? I mean, they created that knowing it was going to tank, so they shorted that, and then they made a boatload. Okay, that was interesting. That was very interesting. What else? Because you said you had a ton of information about the parallels of the 2008 timeline, and yes. Okay.
You know what he sure does. Let me jump in while he gets everything together there briefly. We're looking at, we saw that exact same thing happen back in 08. They have not currently, pardon my kid on the other side of the door. Hi. She's really loud. She's far away, but that's how loud she is.
Well, she's also mad about the short sellers. So.
I have a quick question coming in from Diva Marie on Locals. She's asking, is hedge fund a shell?
No, a hedge fund is a company that gets together other people's money and invests it, So they invest it and try to make money. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail. And whether they win or lose, the hedge funds get to make a profit. They get to get paid a commission. So obviously winning makes them more money, but they can also naked short stocks and such. They can sell shares of stock without ever actually having to own them until they get margin called. And sometimes that takes years, if not decades. And that's a situation that I think we're going to be seeing come very, very soon.
I was going to ask, aren't we going through that, or aren't they going through that right now, getting the ding. Somebody said that they'd rather get a call from their ex-wife than to get a call from a margin call.
Oh, no. Yeah, you don't want a margin call. No. That is bad juju. I got a margin call for $3. I started freaking out.
Wow.
Shit, I can't get $3 in there fast enough. Oh, no. Like Yeah, it's a stressful. I can't imagine getting a margin call for like millions and billions of dollars. Like it would be a supremely stressful situation. You're done at that point if you can't get the money in. Uh,
Mm,
so yeah,
okay,
parallels to 2008 though. Um,
this is good.
Look
This stuff
here.
is.
This is from the DTCC, which Boss knows a lot about the DTCC, and I'm actually going to defer to him on that. Um, but this is a notice of a money market instrument issue failure for Wells Fargo. Okay, and this came out on May 4th. So let me bring up this. I don't know. I don't think you guys can see that other one. So I'm just going to post this one. Oh my God, it's huge. Oh, it's even bigger. Here we go. Back on September 16th, 2008, what happened to Lehman Brothers? Money market instrument issuer failure. So the same, I mean, we're seeing the playbook happen. We are seeing the playbook happen. And anybody who understands how 2008 went down, and if you don't, watch watch The Big Short. I mean, watch that movie. Really, I mean, it'll really give you good insight into how all this kind of plays out.
So this is interesting because on that same time frame, actually within hours of this notice, isn't it when Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're showing is history is repeating it. Would history repeat itself just like, stock trends and what is it, pennants and flags and spikes and non-spikes? I don't know. What do you guys call it?
Yeah, I mean, it's history. When it comes to the markets as a phrase, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And we're seeing all of the same kind of things. We're seeing a lot of the same things. Banks are having trouble. They're failing. Um, we're seeing these money market instrument issuer failures. With Wells Fargo, same thing happened with Lehman Brothers. We're seeing the talk of and probably the ban on short selling on banks. We're seeing runs on banks. We're seeing banks fail. All of these things are remarkably similar. And I know Boss has, and I have for quite some time now been talking about, hey, it's coming. Like the crash is coming. These banks are going to go down. And, for myself personally, and everybody can do whatever they want to do. But for myself personally, my money's in a credit union. And I
Good for
feel
you.
way safer in my credit union. And I have another account in a small local bank, a very small local bank. And to me, that's huge because these big banks it's just going to get worse. And I personally feel that we're going to have a big bank go down pretty soon. I
Well,
feel like this is going to roll up. And I mean, some of these banks are fairly big. These are some of the biggest bank failures that the country has ever seen that are happening right now. But none of the real, like the quote unquote, I'm air quoting. You guys can't see me. Like, I wish I could make my cat in space.
you can't do that. Here, I'll do it. Say it again. Okay.
I don't remember, what was I saying? Where am I? I'm out in
Thanks.
space. I lost too much oxygen. Um, one of the here we go. Wait, are you ready? One of the big banks. There you go. Thank you. One of the big banks hasn't really been affected in a gross way yet, but it's coming. It's coming because it's literally House of Cards. Like, it's going to work its way up the chain. Um, and I personally feel it's going to be City. I don't know, but Boss, do you have a pick if there was a pool?
They're all in shit shape. It all depends on what happens first. JP Morgan's got
True.
more gold derivatives shorted than their entire assets and net worth. Your Goldman Sachs is over leveraged 103 to 1 in derivatives notional values. Bank of America and Wells Fargo have a ton of mortgage-backed securities and commercial real estate, commercial mortgage-backed securities that are trash. Citigroup is just overall trash. So it really is tough to say exactly which one's gonna go down first, because there's so many issues now. That first there was like 190 regional banks that were at risk, then 240, then 722, and then as of yesterday, I'm hearing that over 1,000, regional banks are at risk, and those regional banks are all backstopped by the larger banks above them So really, when you have the regional banks, what's the word I'm looking for? Market cap basically get cut from over 400 billion to under 100 billion in a matter of a few months. You got to assume that some of the larger banks are also going to be seeing the same thing after the fact, right? After they
Uh-huh.
swallow up more of these regional banks. Yeah, there's another
Well,
one from Watcher Guru right there.
uh,
Their 722 U.S. banks report unrealized losses exceeding 50% of capital, and now even J.P. Morgan. 10 years ago, J.P. Morgan only had around 1,200 hedge funds underneath them, and today they have over 4,300 hedge funds underneath them. And there's a reason I always say, Jerome Powell, get the fucking money printer out. It's because he's gonna literally have to get the money printer out to bail out all these banks that become insolvent due to the hedge funds and family offices underneath them that go insolvent, just like what happened with our Kigos, the family office that
oh
made
yeah.
made some bad bets on GameStop and AMC, which then led Credit Suisse to become insolvent, and so on. And that's going to go up the chain over and over and over again.
Oh, Archegos. I totally forget about that one. Yeah, that's kind of big. Okay, so this is okay. Then there was let's see, another report today, and it's from EuropeLoaded.com. We have to go through a very alternative sites, but they're actually finding things about over 2,000 US banks are insolvent, but we just don't know it right now. Almost half of the 4,800 banks in the United States are nearly insolvent as they have burned through their capital buffers. The Telegraph reported earlier this week, citing a group of banking experts. Again, I'm just reporting what's an article. I'm not doing any smokes, sending smoke signals or anything like that. But so this is all getting exposed. They can't print money, right? They can't print money. They keep increasing their interest rates, and they're, well, like you said, that it's just their house of cards is falling down, and they don't have their bailout buddies to come out, to come and rescue them anymore. I think that many of them, I mean, do they really not know that they were not going to get bailed out? I know there's a lot of knots in there.
Did
Are
they
they
not know that they were not going to
not going to
not
get bailed?
get bailed
Okay,
out?
so did the banks really not know that a bailout? I mean, how is it that we knew that there wasn't going to be a bailout, but did they think they were going to get a bailout? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Did these big banks, because you guys do a lot more digging, we all three do, and all of our viewers do a lot more digging than these guys do. And we kind of saw this happening coming up. We've been talking about it for a couple of years. And now all of a sudden, did they think that they were going to continue to print money or come up with this $1 trillion coin? Which, by the way, I'd really love for one of you two to enlighten us on this. I mean, come on, who's going to pay for that coin? All right, what's it backed by? And then where are you going to get that precious metal? All right. Can you tell why I know I understand why you guys have me on the show, because I really ask a lot of questions. But
Yeah, the $1 trillion platinum coin.
wait, say it one more time. Say it one more time.
It's a 1 trillion with a $1 trillion platinum coin. Like Yellen was, they were considering printing one.
Mhm.
Uh, So, well, literally, just like all the, just like the money printer. I mean, but instead, just minting one coin that's worth 1 trillion, they go and they deposit in the Federal Reserve, and like all of a sudden, you got $1 trillion in there now just from this one coin. Like all of the rest of our currency, it's literally backed by friggin' nothing. Just the little bit of, um, platinum that is used to mint it. I mean,
Yeah,
that's literally all that it's really backed by.
okay, so they're going to go ahead and mint a $1 trillion coin to help with the deficit. Why don't they just print a $32 trillion coin, right? Isn't that what our deficit is right now, or something like that?
Yeah,
Something
oh yeah.
crazy.
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I don't get it.
I mean, they do that and instantly, I mean, you want to talk about inflation. If you add 32, I mean, adding 1 trillion is bad enough, but you add 32 trillion, like it would be anarchy, like literal anarchy, like instant and literal anarchy.
Okay, so I don't
And
know
I
what
don't
she's
think they
saying.
want that. As much as they are trying to destroy a lot of things, I don't think they want that because it has to be a controlled burn,
Okay,
in my
all right.
opinion.
Well, I appreciate you enlightening us. Okay, can you kind of enlighten us on what the effects? First of all, do you both think that that news we're reading about the short selling as being imminent? Do you think that's actually going to happen, that there wouldn't be any short selling, and how is that going to affect the hedge funds? Is it going to like expose the ones that have done these naked shorts, and if they can't do any short, I mean, they can't do short selling. Short selling, in my humble opinion, has always been criminal. You know, you bet against something.
There is a, I mean, there is a use for it. There is a use for it.
Okay.
You know, there is a lot of, and we've seen a lot of these, a lot of illegitimate companies that trade on the market, you know, or they, you know, they do things the wrong way, and then, you know, and companies that should not be in existence should probably be shorted into the ground. Sure. So I guess that there is a, you know, a use for it. There is a, like a vestigial like use for it. But is it absolutely necessary? No, the markets would run fine without it, honestly.
Okay.
The problem is it's not shorts necessarily, it's the predatory shorts. It is a bunch of hedge funds colluding together and using money to bully a company out of existence. That's the problem. See, that's the problem. See, shorts should be used against a company that doesn't deserve to be in business, or, you know, a company that is on the decline. You know, that's where shorts really should be used. Shorts shouldn't be used to force a company into decline, and that's the difference.
Okay.
See, like if a company is doing bad business, it's not being managed properly, you know, and they're just doing bad business, then yeah, they should be shorted. But a company that's doing the right things, that's, you know, doing the, you know, managing things correctly, and, you know, and takes care of their employees, and does the job right, and all of these kind, you know, and is growing and expanding, like shorts can literally put a company like that out of business. Like that's how predatory shorts work. Like they literally use their more money to bully another company out. And that's to me, that's the problem with it. Well, and of course, in the naked shorts and everything else, I mean, you know, the illegitimate shorts, just that's a big problem, and they've pretty much admitted that those exist. As far as this, you know, ban on short selling that's coming now,
Mhm.
I don't. A lot of people get really excited super quick. Like they were like, "Oh yeah, if they can't short sell AMC, that means AMC can't be shorted, and the price won't be suppressed, and it's going to fucking go to the moon." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, hold on. Time
Did you
out.
hear my conversation with my friend this weekend?
Yeah, I'm literally doing like the timeout thing with my hands. You can't see it, but anyways, yeah. I mean, it is more than likely going to be just the banks, but that's
Mm.
fine, because I'm telling you right now, that is, again, that's just the next step in what happened in 2008. Because what happened after they stopped the short selling in the banks? Like literally the next couple of things that happened that were big are, you know, it's the same playbook. The banks ended up failing anyways, and the margin calls came right after, because liquidity dries up and disappears. So,
Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to jump in, but my little one's upset. My apologies,
Oh, no.
but there was $50 billion spent in September 19th of 2008 to bail out banks and money market funds, right? And then on the 27th, barely a week later, you know, 9 days later, that's when we saw the S&P 500 with its largest single-day drop in history. That was over 13.5%, one-day drop on the SPY. And even still, over the next 2 months, the SPY lost 40% from the September 19th, 2008 date anyway. Just showing further losses there, right? And then what do you got there? What happened October 28th, about 30 days after the S&P 500 was down by 13.5% a single day? 30 days later, on October 28th, Volkswagen, with only 12% short interest and 60% ownership by Porsche, squoze from, I think it was like $30 a share up to $1,000 a share. And there was basically, that was an agreement between Porsche and the Italian government and the short sellers in order to get the hedge funds out at $1,000 a share to prevent them from going entirely bankrupt and insolvent. So even though they lost billions and billions of dollars, it saved them from insolvency. Now they can't do that same thing with AMC and retailers because AMC has 26% short interest. There are over 3.8 million AMC shareholders in the United States alone, individual retail shareholders. They own 85% of the float, and the company's got increasing fundamentals, EBITDA, cash position, revenues, margins, you name it. That continues, that they get a better positive, fundamentals. And while I said in this post that past history is not indicative of future performance, history doesn't always repeat, but it often rhymes. And we're seeing the very similar things right now with all the banks and the money market funds that, especially regional banks, are losing money hand over fist. They've lost over 75% of their entire market cap across all United States regional banks. And there's thousands and thousands of them, and pretty soon they're going to get eaten up by a small amount of large banks, which will help the Federal Reserve to issue the central bank digital coin and really take the reins over people's spending and really get the IRS to be able to pinpoint every single transaction that people make and even control the way that we spend money. But in addition, if these things continue, it's very likely that we see, like Aaron, when you were saying, Santa, that the banks continue to crash, get shorted even further into oblivion, and then the government will have to come out and print billions more. They've already printed, what is it, 120 billion they've already had, or over $200 billion, I think it was, just to save these three banks, SVB, Signature, and First Republic. And that right there is way more in failures than we saw in 2008 across, over 2,000 banks that failed in the 10 years after 2008. They've already spent more just on three banks. So these are all inflationary printing. Inflation. This is all inflationary money printing by the central bank. And meanwhile, they're trying to raise interest rates. And, they got I like to say they got their foot on the brake and the gas pedal at the same time, doing a burnout in their car, and it's not going anywhere. So I think it's going to be only a matter of time before we do see more of these banks collapse. And then the real big boys, like we saw with Lehman and stuff, Citigroup, et cetera, whoever it might be this time around, is also going to collapse. And that means that all the hedge funds and the family offices and everyone else underneath them is going to get margin called, leading up to a giant chain of collapses and insolvencies that force the Federal Reserve to come out and stop short selling on banks because certain hedge funds are running them into the ground. But it's going to be too little too late. It always is. The Fed's always running on lagging indicators, and they can never react until after the market crashes. So now the market is going to have a soft landing. Is the new inflation is transitory. We know what that meant.
No, explain it to me like I'm a third grader.
Well, the Federal Reserve was telling us that inflation was transitory. It was no big deal back in 2020 and 2021. Some of us were shouting from the rooftops. I'm like, hey guys, inflation's ramping up. Like, this is about to become hyperinflation. And a lot of people didn't believe it. And that whole time, for the period of an entire year, even as inflation got up to 8, 9, 10%, on the newly adjusted numbers, it was still, inflation is transitory. It was all we heard from the Federal Reserve for a long time. And then we started hearing that, banks are safe. And obviously we found out inflation wasn't transitory. It's here to stay, and they had to do something about it. And then we started hearing that the banking sector is sound and resilient. And well, we all know what happened, right? Because it was just last Wednesday, Jay Powell told us that the banking sector sounded resilient. And then the next day, PacWest and Western Alliance and all these other banks continue to crash.
I'll drop that video. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was really comical. I mean, it's
Exactly.
like, okay. I mean, come on, Jay Powell.
They're kidding some people. They're definitely they're tricking the dumber percentage of people, but I think that the vast majority of Americans and international investors are really starting to understand that things are not right and that things are going to get worse before they get better, much worse.
I'd like to elaborate on what Boss just said.
Please take
for
it,
anybody
buddy.
who knows who Matt Kors is, he lost 30 grand betting that the banks would rebound after Jay Powell.
Are you serious? Seriously?
Well, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, we don't want to go there. That's probably a conversation just to take it private. I don't really want to go there because I don't know.
I don't know. It just, to me,
Mm.
here's a couple things about that. See, I'm going to talk about other people. I don't give a fuck. I really don't care. Like, I
I know you
really
don't.
don't. But I'm not going to like sit here and just shit on anyone. But honestly, for as pompous of a fucking dude as that guy is, how he feels like he knows everything about everything and how everything works on everything, and if anybody ever tries to counter his fucking narrative, he's like, "Oh well, I'm fucking Matt Kors," like that, like literally. So if there's Matt Kors fans in here, sorry, but you got to admit,
No, you're not.
even if you are a Matt Kors fan, the guy is pompous as fuck. I mean, he
Before
just
discuss,
is.
Well,
And for him
from
for
what
him
I've
to fall into the banks are going to rebound from here and go up and lose all that money, it's kind of that's pretty karma to me. Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I think I just dropped the video if you guys want to show that about JPAL. So yeah, I just think that it's, not everybody's going to have more accurate information than the other, and we're all going to make mistakes because we're all human, but not to go on your podcast and start talking about that. I did want to mention a couple of things. People living in Texas, we got Kit Kat, Vero's Kit Kat, and there's somebody else. They're talking about that the Mint facility. Oh, in just a minute. One sec. The Mint facility in Milford or in Texas is the parking lot is packed. They're not doing tours, so something's going on with the Mint. All right, thought I'd just share that. Okay, I'm just kind of reading some comments in here. Okay, this is the infamous J Powell, the first 13 seconds of his dynamic speech.
before
And
discussing today's
this is the
meeting,
same day this news
let me
broke.
comment briefly on recent developments in the banking sector. Conditions in that sector have broadly improved since early March, and the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient.
oh yeah, for sure.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Sound and resilient.
Are you and this news broke that same day.
Wait a minute, he's not wrong, and let me explain why. They're resilient to profits. That's all.
Oh, that's a good
That was
one.
all I have. They're just resilient to profits.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yep, that's what I do on my show is have little Sammy on there. No, that really is. They
They're
are resilient to
constantly
profits.
they're constantly lying and flip flopping. It happens so often. You know, when you hear them talk to the American people, they say things like this. And now, what's the newest thing? Now they're saying that banks are sound and resilient, and that we're gonna come in for a soft landing. And we all know what that fucking means. 2008, all over again, multiplied over and over again. But
What are they trying?
go
I
ahead.
don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do they really think that people that we are more prepared than we were back in 2008? That's in 2008 we were all just at a loss. I think,
Everybody
or
was
most of us.
blindsided. Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
it just this time
Yeah,
we were
most a lot of people believe it. It may be hard to believe because we're so like in tune with what's going on that we are the few, like the 1% at this point that actually care enough to see what's happening and look at the situation for what it is. The majority of people still have their head in the sand and do not understand what is actually going on. You tell them about this, they'd be like, all they could tell you, I should say, is the things that they hear on the mainstream media because nobody does their own due diligence. And the ones that do, often look to other, influencers and stuff like that for information. But even still, like we're not trying to give people information and tell them what to think. We're trying to simply help them find the information for themselves. But and that being said, you know what? I want to show you right here. This is the difference between the mainstream media when they're talking to media and the American people versus when Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen are actually talking to Congress and they're under testimony, right? Let me show you this real quick. It's going to take about maybe 4 to 5 minutes, but this is Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen testifying in front of Congress during the CARES Act in September of 2021. And they tell us exactly what's happening right fucking now with the shadow banking sector, which is AKA, for those that don't know, money market funds and hedge funds. They tell us exactly what's happening. Watch this real quick.
Madam Secretary, the same question for you, please. Other than the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the terrible economic toll that it's taking and the terrible health toll that it's taking, looking more broadly, what do you assess to be the most significant systemic risks or threats to financial stability?
I think I
Can't even
think
get it
there
right, don't worry.
are threats to financial stability that have come from the growth of activity in the shadow banking sector. We saw some of those threats emerge during the onset of the pandemic. We have, for example, open-end bond funds that guarantee daily redemption, saw massive withdrawals by individuals who wanted to flee to cash, and that can trigger fire sales of assets with systemic consequences. The Financial Stability Oversight Council that I head has taken that up as a topic that we're looking at and examining. There are issues relating to hedge funds and the possibility of leverage there that can trigger financial runs. That's another topic. And
I could just stop it right there and briefly. So Janet Yellen very specifically summed up very quickly, telling us that the shadow banking sector, money market funds, and hedge funds are extremely overleveraged and at great risk, and they will have to fire sale blue chip stocks, equities, bonds, and other things that they've been using, such as treasuries in the reverse repurchase program, the overnight redemption, in order to flee to cash, in order to make their margin calls. She literally just told us this right now. And when she mentioned that we saw this occur at the onset of the pandemic, when was that? January and February of 2021, right? What happened in
2020.
the 2021?
2020 is when it,
The market crash, right? Yeah, 2020 exactly. The onset of the pandemic, we saw them, fire sale their assets in 2020. Excuse me, and really blue chips in the stock market took a massive dip. People's portfolios, 401ks, investments, ran into the ground. And then a few months later, then you started seeing massive, meme stock just going nuts in January of 2021 because of those same situations. These things aren't over in a day or a week. These situations last for many, many months. And that's exactly what we've had going on. And even still, all the way through the run-up of AMC and GameStop, and then the collapse of Archegos, and now the collapse of Credit Suisse, and now the collapse of more regional banks. This is everything that occurred in 2008. The can got kicked until now, and there's no further way for them to continue with the quantitative easing and the printing of money without keeping the rampant inflation, just running away from them. So now things have to get tightened, and that's going to cause a giant liquidity crunch, a massive credit crunch, and further insolvencies, bankruptcies, margin calls, and so on. And this is exactly what she told us in September of 2021. Both Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen told us everything that we're seeing right fucking now was going to happen. But when they're talking to the American people, they tell us that everything's fine, that inflation's transitory, that banks are sound and resilient, that we're coming in for a soft landing.
right. Okay, and one has to ask this too. I mean, she's in a congressional hearing, and the first thing that comes out of her mouth is the term shadow banking. One would think,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, come on, hello. And she got paid speaking fees for this idiot. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you gonna really, I know she was well liked at one time by certain people, but I mean, for her to actually say that, okay, it's like we're a criminal enterprise, and our criminal enterprise is going to need a little bit of help, is how I, interpret what she was just saying in this, 2 minutes or 1 minute that you just played. It's ridiculous. And then a year later, the FDIC came out with a video about how they don't have enough money to cover all the assets for all the banks if they go under. So, but it has to be a secret meeting, and we don't want the public to know about this. And I will make sure I post it on my Telegram. I have to go look for it. But we don't want the
I could post it. I could just share this here with you, because this is a 2.5 hour long congressional hearing, and nobody picked this up. I just happened to be listening to this crap to hear what they have to say, and this little 2 minute long gem is right in the middle at the 1 minute and 54 second mark. And mainstream media hasn't said a peep about it, but it's right there for everyone to see for them very selves.
They won't, and it's people like you that's helping America and the world. So, which leads me to, I know I'm going a little squirrel with this here, but I did want to ask this. Do you both, do we all, everyone on their site, do you need to tag like a popular media platform? Because there are more people coming on. Somebody sent me a nice DM saying, hey, Santa, thanks for the follow. Because I liked what he was posting, or she, I don't know if it's a male or female, but anyway, I like what you're, so I thought, I'm going to go ahead and follow him on Truth. I was never about following big accounts. I'm all about like following content and information. This person says, I'm recently new to the Anon movement. I'm surprised that I'm getting a lot of love and, and just very shocked. I didn't hear about you until I heard it through several other people. I went to Fox News when Tucker was getting, this is all recent, Fox News, and, going to these liberal sites, doesn't know about these like other platforms. And that's how can we get them to your platforms quicker? Do you actually put in something popular like tagging Tucker Carlson, so when they are looking for Tucker Carlson, they're going to actually find you? I'm just sharing this because I think we need to accelerate this a lot because of the stuff that's going to be coming out this week. And again, I'm more involved in current events and news. You both are involved with everything, but your focus is tying in the financial aspect into everything. I'm just throwing that out there because the stuff you're sharing, Marcel, is so important for the average person to understand, including apes. Okay, I hear some of these little Twitter chat room things, and I'm sit there and go, man, Aaron and Boss and I have more intelligent conversations than they do, but they have bigger accounts, all right? And I'm thinking, and one of them was like really talking about the CBDC coin, and I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I'm not a CBDC coin girl at all. I'm not, man, that's like you were saying, it's going to start controlling you. I'm not there. I'm a gold, silver, and just give me regular stocks to go ahead and invest in. And that's what I am. But sorry, I know there's like 4 different things. And I know, Aaron, you probably are like, okay, let me go ahead and help Santa out. Let me organize those thoughts. But how can we get people to get that truth information out to find it faster? Because I think we're running out of time.
I don't
And they're
think
not
I
going to
have
be
the
able to say,
answer.
hey, hey, I heard
Collaborating, I
about
think,
Boss
helps.
Blunts. What?
Yeah, I think what we're doing right here is huge, because we all have different audience
Mm,
bases, and you know, uh, I mean, granted, a lot of, and for those who don't know, like my channel started because Santa made me do it. She forced me to. Like I was like, because I was talking about AMC and like the stock market, and and we had a little small channel where it was her and me and a few other people that kind of dug and looked into researched, and a little group, like a very small group like that. And she's like, you should start a channel. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, and she's like, well, I mean, a lot of people are going to have the same questions that we have, so you should start a channel and start just helping people to understand it. So I'm like, all right, fine. It's just I'm
mm,
busy with the call center, it won't get too crazy. Yeah, and here we go. She like friggin' posts me all the time, and oh, you guys gotta go here, and you guys gotta. I'm like, oh my god, no, but here we are, 20,000 people later. But the thing is I've got my own little corner here in Telegram. I don't think there is no other AMC stuff on Telegram. I mean, there's a couple of really really small ones, but I don't even think they're maintained at this point. But I mean, I've got a little corner over here, and Boss is on Twitter and YouTube. And I had a couple of weeks ago, I had Stock Retail on from Twitter, and he's pretty much just Twitter, and he has been for a long time.
mhm.
And he was like, I didn't even know that there was a group over here on Telegram, and that's actually like huge news to me. He's like, that's awesome. It makes me feel really good about our movement, because here's like all these other people that are in a whole nother place that I didn't even know about. Because sometimes you get like laser focused into one kind of thing, and you don't realize that we're apes are all over the place. Speaking of that, I have to talk about this real quick.
Okay.
I was super stoked. Now, I mean, everybody knows I'm gonna get into the AMC weeds here for a minute. The lawsuit is whatever, and it's a nuisance lawsuit. We know it. That's what it is, and it's just a delay tactic by whoever to delay the process of the merge and merging the shares back in the reverse split. That's what that is.
Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you. Oh, see, what is it? Boss got some good stuff here. But I'm just going to say this. There is going to be, and I feel there's going to be a lot of good information coming out of this. Because one thing that came out of this court case is the simple fact of this. There's still 3.8 million apes holding their fucking hands onto AMC. We haven't gone anywheres. That is one of the biggest shill account bullshit that they've been spreading for the last 2 years. That everybody sold when it spiked in June. You were at 4 million. You're probably only down to like 500,000 now. Oh, Jesus Christ came to me in a dream and told me to sell at 50 because hedge funds have families too.
That's awesome.
These shills have been throwing that in our face that everybody fucking sold. And that people like myself and like Boss and Stock Retail has talked about this, and Ape Average has been talked about. A lot of people have talked about this, but that OBV told us a lot. That OBV, and I've talked about it, and Santa, I believe you were here when I talked about it, it shows that we didn't sell. That line shows that we did not sell, and that information coming out of that court case, 3.8 million strong apes. Yes, God, it's just absolute proof that we didn't go anywhere. It's like people can look at an OBV line and be like, "Well, that doesn't really prove anything." Yeah, well, it came out of the court case. The special master come out and said, "Oh yeah, there's 3.8 million retail investors." That's right. We're still here. We're not going anywhere. So fucking come get it, shills. Come get it.
Amen, brother.
Amen. That was excellent execution of that, because this is big, because yes, there are shills. They are posing. I don't know how many poser accounts I've had to report on Twitter. I have only one Twitter account. It is Santa Surfing. If you want to verify it, go to my Beach Broadcast News website to verify my post, because somebody is in there now, Santa Surfing 01, if you want to report them as a poser. Twitter won't remove it right now. They said they needed one more document. I just got that notification this morning, so they probably will this afternoon. But they're sending out garbage in DMs, and I'm thinking they are going to use names like us to go ahead and send out garbage into the DMs. And I'm just kind of letting you know that that it's going to get really ugly, because these shill accounts are going to get nasty, because man, they got to be broke and desperate. They did this with crypto 2 years ago. Remember, Aaron, 2 years ago? Hey, can I moderate your Telegram channel because I'm a really good person and I sell crypto and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, get out of here. And they were willing to pay me lots of money. And I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want it. I want that garbage. I just want to stick with what I do. And that now
Are you
they
prepared for the great event that is coming up? That's the one on
Oh
Telegram.
yeah. Greetings.
Every platform has the different one, but like on Telegram, that's what it is. It'll look like Santa coming from her, or look like me. I've had some sent out for me too, and they're like, "How are you enjoying the channel?" It's like a private message, and then you like respond, and they're like, "Are you prepared for the great event? Okay, go to Lobster and and all that crap again." But yeah,
They're
let's
too
not
polite.
get into the weeds on that one. But yeah, just understand that as cool as it may feel, okay, and this sounds so weird because I'm just not this person. But as cool as it might be that you're like, hey, I'm getting a private message from this huge fucking channel that I follow. Like, wow, they must have noticed me in the comments and reaching out to me to help me with my investments. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, and I'm not saying you're like a nobody or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, I'm going to tell you right now, Boss doesn't go through his YouTube comments and pick out a name and say, you know what, Hillsley sure does look like they could use some stock advice. I'm going to help them with some crypto tips. So I'm going to private message that individual. No, it just doesn't happen. And Santa, honestly, Santa, you just don't have the time. Like, you ain't got time to go help people with any of that. And honestly, anybody who follows Santa and actually knows would be like, there is no way in hell Santa's going to be messaging me saying, hey, I got huge investment advice. Nothing personal, Santa. We love you to pieces, but you're just not that person. You're just not that person. And I've had some, message from mine too. Oh yeah, get this new meme stock you should look into. And it's just, I'm just,
They're going to start.
you just got to be careful, guys.
Well,
That's
they're
all.
just going to start to distract, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse before it gets beautiful. I thought the banks are supposed to fold by now, but I guess Jamie Dimon, Jamie Dimon's got to go for a deposition on the 26th, and to talk about his knowledge about Epstein. All right, so how
Yeah,
much is going to be
that's starting
revealed
to
there?
come out. A lot of that stuff's starting to come out. That's interesting for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
I mean, Jamie Dimon, who was untouchable, is now having to go to court under orders. He didn't take orders from anybody, and under orders as to go in there and say, "What do you know about Epstein?" He's going to say, "Oh, I don't know." I guarantee you, he's going to have the CRS vid on by then, by the 25th of May, which is the can't remember squat vid, new COVID. Anyway, I do believe that's what's going to happen, but once he goes through the deposition, it's on a closed door deposition, so hopefully the transcripts can come out. But when that happens, I mean, why is that happening? Why all of a sudden the news, Zero Hedge is coming up with stuff? Elon's posting, replying to Zero Hedge a ton, and also to other 8 related or investment related accounts Elon is responding to. So, and Elon even talked about, did you see that one about bank runs? Did you see about that? What Elon posted? It was kind of interesting because I was like, what? He's talking about people wanting to take money out of their banks. And I'm like, okay, that was a really nice way of saying, get your freaking money out. I guess I didn't post that. I thought I did. Okay, well, it was anyway. It is, let me get this for you guys here. Elon replies. Am I able to drop this here? It was, oh, that was a different one. And he replied to somebody else. Anyway, he was talking about get your money out. Here we go. Elon is unusual whales posted. Let me share this in here.
It was on your channel. Hold on, let me take a look.
I may have been. I don't know. There's that FDIC clip. I don't know. We played it on one of our other shows in the past, but I just thought I'd share that with you if you want to put it on your channels, because it's really important that the people know that about, here we go, about the FDIC and their super secret meeting that they had and
all year long.
Yep.
So I think we should watch.
It should be accessible when people need to know, but I don't think you have much hope of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know.
I completely agree with that. I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? Like, my insurance company doesn't tell me what they're doing with my assets. They just assume they're going to pay my claim. Right? I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking system than maybe people in this room do. That we want them to have full faith and confidence in the banking system. They know the FDIC insurance is there. They know it works. They put their money in. They're going to get their money out. So there's a select crowd of people that are in the institutional side. And if they want to understand this, they're going to find a way to understand this. There's a bunch of law firms represented in this room. There's a bunch of people that'll charge them by the hour a lot of money to explain this all to them. And it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And they all have huge staffs. But I would be careful about the unintended consequences of starting to blast too much of this out in the general public.
Careful, don't tell the regular people or they might pull their money out of the bank. And this coming directly from the FDIC, right? Inside a closed door FDIC meeting, they're saying we can't cover all these fucking banks' insolvencies. You know, at the time they had 140 something billion dollars in the FDIC to backstop hundreds of trillions of dollars in banking losses. And right now, even after they just went through one bank, lost $20 billion for bailing out one bank's FDIC, deposits, and now they have less than $120 billion left. Like, the FDIC is a joke.
Mm-hmm. And also, I read an article, several articles. I don't know where they are now, but they got scrubbed. That the bank stopped paying the FDIC for their insurance 3 years ago, in 2019. They're like, don't worry about it. Again, thinking they know maybe the election was going to get stolen, it was going to go to the bumblehead, and then it was going to be a big mess that the bumblehead would be like the one that would be in charge, not knowing that the bumblehead, Biden, which I mean, is like powerless. But interesting. I just thought that was interesting. This guy, Kirk Elliott, he's really got some good information. He's got some really good information. When he's been doing a few rounds with podcasters, but I kind of I definitely like his insight. But I just wanted to share that, kind of enlightening you. Again, they want you to trust the banks, and they're giggling in the background. It's like they knew what was going to happen. And that meeting was in November of last year. Little turkey butts. Oh, excuse me. There was my cuss word. Okay, sorry.
Hey, this is a family show here.
Yeah, I just want people in the comments to know that there are moderators here. I don't give a shit about your comment. The moderators are just doing what they're supposed to do, making sure that the dills and the fudge spreaders and the shills don't take over, because it's too easy to let them take over. And like what you guys were mentioning earlier, it's not just the accounts that are coming out trying to fake as being us to try to get people to scam, send them money as a scam on WhatsApp or Cash App, but a lot of these shills are literally people being paid to misrepresent the facts on social media by creating accounts that seem to be against the system, but then say the exact opposite and say things to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt against your investments, like silver, gold, AMC, GameStop, et cetera, et cetera. So that is what these people are literally paid to do, So I just threw that up
terrible.
there about what you were saying from Elon Musk. Check that out.
Yeah. So here we have unusual whales. The Treasury and the Fed may have to come in and actually restrict your right as a U.S. citizen to pull money out of the U.S. banking sector due to capital flight from the U.S. banking system, Hugh Hendry said on Bloomberg. Elon replies to unusual whales, saying they've created a massive gap between money market account Treasury bill interest rates at -4.5% and bank account interest at more than or less than 1%. That's a massive incentive to move money out of bank accounts. Elon is pretty much saying, get it to the bank of mattress or get it out of the big banks, bank run eminent. I mean, I did, when the protests were happening, I was like, man, maybe we do bank run protests. And then I was told to not post that. I had to take it down. But guess who followed me right after that? Pappy. I love Pappy Caballo. All right. Not Pappy Caballo. I love him too, but Pappy Trumpo. And so it was like, okay, bank and just the bank runs. Are we supposed to? The world has had their bank runs, and is it quietly happening here? Nobody's reporting it. Nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm just saying.
I definitely think it's something that's occurring. Again, you got to be super careful about, I mean, that's the whole yelling fire in the theater kind of thing.
Yeah.
I am very careful about how I speak about the current situation with the banks. I'm just saying that I am of the belief that it is occurring currently, that a lot of people are seeing the banks as a risky proposition right now and are moving their money to other places. And I mean, for myself personally, like I said, I've moved to credit unions and small local banks and or cash. And of course, physical silver and gold. For me, that's safe. That's what I want to do. With I don't want to be in one of these big banks. It's not after what I know now. I mean, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have cared at all. I wouldn't have cared at all. But knowing what we know now, I mean, this is all coming down. So, boss, you had a thing up about Bitrex. I posted. Let's see. We always talk about somebody already always knows. And I posted this Sunday. Okay. I posted this Sunday about breaking Binance outflow data confirms the largest withdrawal in its history. Over 162,000 Bitcoins left the exchange, valued over 4.6 billion. That is a ridiculous outflow of Bitcoin out of the Binance, and I believe they've restricted. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to confirm that, but I believe they restricted withdrawals out of Binance as a result of that.
There was something going on with Binance.
Yeah, they're reopened withdrawals recently, but yes, yet earlier today, Binance did halt all withdrawals period, because of the over 400,000 unverified Bitcoin transactions that kept piling up over and over again. So what level that's at right this second, I'm not able to check right now. I've got my hands full, but yeah, Binance is back up and running from the sounds of it. Yeah, and that's just one example of the many issues going on. That's why I posted this today. A lot of people still, again, a lot of people don't know these things, but today, crypto exchange Bittrex filed for bankruptcy, right? And that's what I touched on at the beginning of the episode when we were just discussing things in general. They were charged by the SEC for operating an unregistered exchange, and their bankruptcy here is less than a month from when the SEC filed these charges for operating in an unregistered exchange, broker dealer, and clearing agency. And Bittrex is the exact same broker dealer, right along with FTX, that issued these tokenized securities, these TSOs, on AMC and GameStop on the date that they were made to go position close only by broker dealers and the clearing agencies like Apex, Citadel, Robinhood, IBKR, Webull, etc. So it's a gigantic conflict of interest. Why were they operating an unregistered exchange? Because they had no interest in doing anything legally from the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all to make the tokenized securities that they could fucking. Yeah,
They never held these assets. If at some point they did, they sold them off really quickly. Especially, like, for example, Bittrex claimed to have 560 million shares of AMC. How can that be? If AMC only has 515 million shares in existence, supposedly, right? And retail owns 85% of that. There's 26% short interest. Insiders own another 3%. You know what I mean? ETFs own another 5%, and so on.
Institutions like another 30.
Yeah, exactly. So how could they own 110% of the float and use them as share locates for broker dealers if it's already oversold by 150, 160%? It makes no sense because they never held them to begin with. So as you can see, that's why I just posted today. If anybody wants to find it, just Google crypto exchange Bittrex bankruptcy or something like just Bittrex bankruptcy, and it'll be the first thing to pop up. It's all over the Wall Street Journal and everywhere else right now. Thankfully, some people are realizing that that it's all a giant scam, but it doesn't change the fact that they colluded. As you can see, the date is circled at the bottom at noon on January 28th, the exact same day, and just an hour or two later after those stocks were made to go PCO is when they issued those tokenized securities in order for the shorts to be able to use them as borrowed shares, even though they didn't have any of the underlying asset in them as the underlying asset of the TSO. They were still able to use the shares that were allegedly part of the TSO as locates. And that is one of the way that they were able to bring down the prices of AMC and GameStop so quickly after they did make them go PCO and kept them that way for several days. Amazing. I just wanted to point that out to people. And it's piece of shit exchanges like this that have made us, work on Lit Exchange. That's why Lit Exchange is so important to me, and why I decided to do it. I never came into AMC or the markets or YouTube with the idea of starting a broker dealer. It came to me as a necessity. People are constantly crying and complaining about how the fuck are we going to change things? What are we going to do? Well, only thing I can think of to do is go out there and create one of the companies that's trying to fuck us over and actually work for people and work with people to get them out of a shitty situation with Robinhood and Webull and so on. So if we want as investors and people of the United States to make change in politics and finance and such, we have to make the change ourselves because nobody else is going to do it for us. And that's why I came out with this.
That's amazing that you did this. So you just started thinking about or doing this about what, a year, 2 years ago?
September. It was before. It was like July of 2021 when I realized that things were completely fucked. And in September we opened up the company and we started development. So we've been in development for about 1 year and 3/4 now, and we hope to launch before the end of 2023. That's the goal right now. That's the time.
Congratulations. I mean, and imagine this. Okay, so you always look at the corporate. I always look at the corporate management, CEO structure, how they work, and you can see that boss is very blunt. So you can imagine what his business is going to be like. If somebody calls and say, "Hey, am I going to do well with whatever?" POS stock, I'm going to just say, you're going to say, "Hey, that's a POS," and you'll be licensed to say something like that. But it's just going to be so refreshing to actually deal with just a blunt way of doing business. I think that's important. Aaron, you didn't think about starting AMC, and look what you developed. You developed a great channel You built a community and you built your own family, and I think it's fantastic what you did.
Well,
And
I'm going to give all the credit to the family. Honestly, everybody. I mean, I'm a news aggregator, basically. I mean, I've got some opinions and I help explain some stuff, but I basically go out and find the good chunks of information and kind of put them all together in one place. But
Mhm.
realistically, it's all the people. It's everybody in my channel is the reason that the channel is as good as it is, because I talk with a lot of them outside. I have a whole folder full of people that I chat with from
That's
my channel.
awesome.
Um, and they're awesome people. I mean, they bring me a lot of good information. They ask me a lot of fantastic questions.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's really, I mean, really, that's the direction I get on everything. Speaking of that, um, let's get to a question here. I got Will Walton has his hand up, and we're gonna get to you real quick here, Will. But Boss and Santa do have to go fairly shortly, so let's get a couple questions in real quick, and then we will wrap it up for the night. But Will has literally has drained all the blood out of his hand. He's had it up the entire night. Even before we went live, he had his hand up. He was just standing there.
Oh.
He had his phone in one hand and the other hand was in the air. That's how he was dedicated to it. Will, how you doing tonight, bud?
Uh-oh.
After all that time, he's
Oh.
unmuted, but we cannot hear him. I see him muting and unmuting. Now he is unmuted. And he's going to have to restart Telegram. Will, you're going to have to restart Telegram. Cannot hear you, bud. Oh, wait.
Oh, that's a drag.
Hello. All right. Well, give it a shot. Maybe try restart. We have anybody else with a question? I actually don't see any other hands up.
I do. There's Will again.
Oh, there's Will again. Okay, we're going to try Will again. Will Walton, 86, round 2.
Yeah, for some reason my Telegram on my desktop, I guess, wasn't working.
There we go. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good.
Anyways, I know that our prior conversation from before, I know it's already too late to implement something like that, but you remember how I was telling you how on the reverse stock split, that if it was like a 100 for 1 for preferred share instead, and maybe make it restricted, is how I would have updated that. And upon conversion, you'd be able to convert 100 1 for 100 for common stock, but be able to issue 100 shares that AMC would be able to use as to raise capital. So they would, for every 100 shares you would convert, they would get 100 shares that they're authorized.
Okay. Yeah. So, what's the question?
I mean, like I said, it's already too late for that, but I guess this would be for Bloss Bunts, because you remember how I was telling you about Rotten Tomatoes? We all just love how their reviewers just delete all our reviews, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was talking about AMC retail reviews, where we'd be able to link our broker for how many shares that we actually have on a site that we'd be able to review movies on with an immutable voice, versus all these snobby types that actually give good movies bad reviews.
I got you. So like a review site, for
much like Rotten Tomatoes, to take market share away from them, and AMC would be able to take up that market share instead.
All right. Honestly, what I would do is I would flesh your idea out a little bit more. Kind of put it together, organize it up a little, how it would function, all the things that it would do. And I would actually put that in a private message to CEO Adam Aaron, because honestly, he does go through his messages.
I did, and they didn't give me a very good response back. They just sent me a link to We Make Movies Better, pretty much.
All right. Well, put it out there. Keep putting it out there. Keep revising it, and Do you understand why it was not accepted as a good idea from them?
No, honestly, no.
So
Maybe
then,
they were busy that day, or
my
I may,
recommendation.
if I may interject for just one moment,
Yeah, go ahead.
the idea sounds okay. However, there's no, I'm hearing and understanding no actual profitability there from for AMC. You know, like nobody pays for Rotten Tomatoes, and people aren't going to pay for retailer, you know, reviews. You know what I mean? So there's got to be, if a company's going to try to implement
Yeah.
something as massive as that, there's got to be a way for them to make money. And from a, you know, financial standpoint, I'm not seeing any ability to actually make a profit there short of like spamming ads on the screen while people go to read the reviews. But at the same time, how many reviews do I need of like the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Sorry about the smoke detector. That just started today. So basically, like, do people really want to read 10, 15, 50,000 reviews about the same movie? Probably not. But at the end of the day, even if there was a way to just consolidate and have like upvotes and trophies and things like that, to just have like the top 10 or the top 50 reviews of a movie show from retail investors, I'm still not seeing a way that actually can create any profit for a company. And that's probably why AMC just was said like, well, thanks for the idea. You know, here's AMC Investor Relations or whatever. We make movies better. But I don't think that there's a way for them to make any
It's hard to
significant
make
amount of
profit.
money. Yeah.
I mean, versus a snobby person that gets to go watch those movies for free, but we'd be the vested interest. And
Yeah,
do
I
something
understand
like
what you're
that.
saying, but for something like that to get implemented would take thousands and thousands of man hours and then of great cost as well. So where would they recoup that money from in order to create a site and keep that sort of thing running and moderated and everything that needs to happen? You know, I'm just saying from like a business standpoint, it's not a business, you know, and I don't mean to be like rude or anything. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to be outright. Like people need to think about that when they're making suggestions to AMC. There has to be a way to turn a profit, otherwise it's not business. You know.
Well, especially now, you know, we're trying to improve the bottom line, and I understand. I get what you're saying, though, Will, in that, you know, good reviews
Yeah,
should
it's a
drive more
cultural thing.
traffic, but it's not a tangible profit center, and that's you know,
Yeah.
that's not something they can report in an earnings like, oh yeah, you know, we got an extra 10
Yeah,
million
I mean,
seats filled because of our review site. Like it's a good idea, and something that if you're passionate about it, maybe you look into setting it up. You know, there's a lot of sites have started that way. A lot of sites have started that way. Maybe you look into setting it up on your own, and you know, if you end up doing that, you know, and you want people to start coming to visit and check it out, I'll help you get people there,
yeah,
you know, and get you
I
started.
mean,
But you know, that's something maybe you
yeah.
should take the reins on.
I mean, and you'd be able to basically link your broker. It would be another way to actually get a share count as well.
I don't know how
So,
comfortable people would feel. I'm just throwing this out there. I don't know how. I know I personally would not feel comfortable linking my brokerage account to a review site. That's myself.
okay.
You know, I mean, honestly, I would actually be really sketched out about that. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea for, but I think right now time is of the essence where there's a lot of how would you say it, restoring, saving right now of businesses. AMC, their business model works for them. I
Yeah.
like your idea, Aaron, about you were suggesting, Will, just to go ahead, go to a Reddit page, start a Substack, actually do a poll, and maybe do polls, and that's what all you do. Start something. If you want to help the community, why don't you start something like that, and then you start helping the community and see where it evolves. Look what happened to Aaron's channel. Look what happened to Boss Blunts. I didn't wake up one day saying I want to be a podcaster. I had a totally different. I thought, well, I only have 8 days to live, so let me go ahead and put whatever I can out in 8 days. And then the doctor says, no, you were misinformed. I'm like, what? So I mean, things happen. So maybe you could put something out there, and for people that don't have a current business model, and it might be the new Yelp of reviews.
Yeah.
Thinking really outside of the box. I really love the way that you are thinking proactive and entrepreneurial, and then it could evolve into something very big. Just my
All right.
opinion.
That's
I have a quick.
I think that's a great idea. And Will, appreciate you hopping up, bud. We're going to get one more quick question in, and
Yeah.
I think Santa and Boss, we're gonna have to make like a baby and head out. So we have got one hand up, and it is the guy who likes to get me riled up.
Jeff?
So yeah, you knew it. See, she knew it was Jeff. Hold on a second. Jeff, hi.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes.
Hey, guys. No, I'm not going to rile you up tonight. I just
All right.
want to ask Marcel about his product. I mean, what products are you going to be offering with this lit exchange? Will you be doing crypto? Are you going to have a bank? Are you going to offer like CDs?
Well, my friend, as much as I'd like to give all these details right now, as we're not yet licensed by FINRA and we're still in the development stages and the application stages with them, I can't legally make any claims because, you know, I'm not offering anybody the ability to buy, sell, or hold any stocks or any equities whatsoever. But the idea for lit exchange is obviously to allow them to trade stocks and cryptocurrency, you know, provide wallet support and allow them to roll in their, you know, IRAs and other, you know, sorts of investments plans into it. Other than that, I can't really give you any exact details yet because that would probably be illegal. So I'm going to err on the side of not pissing off FINRA and say, I'm sorry, my friend, if you would like, if you sign up at litexchange.com, drop your email in there. We're going to be shooting all sorts of updates, give people the chance to beta test the product and so on. We're even going to be doing a founders program because instead of going to venture capitalists, we would rather let retail investors have the ability to invest in the company if they want to. So, you know, we will be offering the ability to buy whatever equities they want within, you know, the aspects that we can in the future. I can't just tell you exactly what that's going to be at this very moment, you know. But the idea is to allow all stocks and majority of crypto to be accessible, but I just can't give you any exact names right now.
Oh, sure. You know, we always talked about, you know, as soon as we squeeze moving the monies out of these brokerages for safety reasons. And, you know, when you have a product up and available, you know, I would feel more safe in your vehicles than Schwab or Fidelity.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. And, you know, recently I switched from IBKR to Webull because IBKR changed their terms of service and is lending out shares of UK apes and even some in America at a certain price point or amount of securities. And then I left Webull for another broker because Webull changed from Apex Clearing to another omnibus agreement, which reduces their insurance only to $500,000 per brokerage account. And I'm like, well, where do I go? You know, I've already got Schwab and Fidelity and a couple other brokerages, and I don't trust any one of them. And I'm like, damn, well, it'd be nice if I had a lit exchange fucking going so I can move my own money to it, you know? So I totally understand where you're coming from, bro. I'm not even kidding.
Can you imagine though, Marcel, you're going to have immediate, I mean, you're going to have like a huge following of people because they're going to have money, shares or silver or gold that's squeezed. Well, anyway.
Well, we're not waiting for post-squeeze to launch. You know, we're just making sure that, unlike Bittrex, who came out and, you know, it filed you know, has been operating an unregistered securities and broker-dealer and got shut down by the SEC, we're doing everything legally and properly so that we don't have any issues. And we need the product to be better than everybody else and different from everybody else. And that's exactly what we aim to do. It's not going to be a broker dealer like you have with Robinhood or Fidelity or even, you know, like Coinbase. It's going to be something, I wish I can give you guys all the details because I'm so fucking excited, but it's going to be a product the likes of which people have never seen before. And I think that's really going to excite people and you know, really bring an enormous amount of users to Lit Exchange simply because of the product itself, not even counting the fact that, you know, our goal is to try to keep trades out of dark pools as much as possible, you know, and actually give people a proper price execution and making sure they get the best price for their trades, you know, as far as on the national best bid and offer and whatnot. So I think that we really are going to offer a lot in terms of actual viability of a product for people. And then also all the positives that come from it, while actually having your order hit lit markets, I think is going to be huge, instead of everything just getting drowned out in over the counter trades. Because if people don't know OTC, that just means that they take your order, they trade it under the over the counter, and it never sees the national best bid and offer, and it's as if the order never even existed. The market makers and brokers front run your orders, front run your trades. Get paid a percentage of payment for order flow in that sense, and all of that buying pressure suppressed. So it's really is criminal. But aside from that, yeah, I think people are going to be extremely excited for the actual application itself. Not just because of the positives that I just mentioned, but because it's going to be so different from anything they've seen before, that I think it's really going to blow some people's minds.
Now you got people like Jeff and I really excited about you hurrying, like, can you wiki and get it all registered quickly, because we'd want to move our funds and investments into something that we can trust. And be nice to know that you have a Saturday show up until the time you get really, really big, and we can ask questions. I do have something very important to share with you though, Marcel.
Yes, please.
This is coming from Ginger Hunley. She says, Santa, tell him his battery needs changing. For that chirping sound.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got so many smoke detectors. They start flipping out every month or so.
Now you got to find which one it is. You walk over, it's this one for sure, and you're staring at it, and it's like, ooh, somewhere else. You're like, wait, no, it's not this one.
Every 2 months, my YouTube
it's
channel.
This one for sure.
Yeah, people on my YouTube channel every 2 months will be like, "Hey, smoke detector again." I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks guys, appreciate that."
Yeah. That used to be my cooking alarm. So until I learned how to cook. Okay. This has been great.
I just ripped mine right out of the wall.
What?
I ripped mine right out of the ceiling, and it still chirps, and I got to pop on it and smash it with a hammer.
You have to drown it slowly.
Yeah.
You put it in a bag, fill it with bricks, and drop it in the Potomac. That's the only way to get them to stop, really.
That's awesome.
Hey, Marcel, just another question, a little bit maybe of inside baseball. Probably a little education about opening this exchange. So I was wondering how you felt, or on the horizon about BRICS and this whole concept of de-dollarization and how it's going to affect us next coming year or so.
Well, my little one is getting fussy. She just came over here and is acting a little extra, and I really don't have enough time to get into that. Other than to tell you that
a long answer.
Yeah, we can talk about that
answer right there.
all day. But yeah, BRICS Plus is gonna shake things up, and the de-dollarization of the world is already well underway. They're already coming out with their own dollars and their own finance, even their own central bank digital coin and their own cash fiat that is backed by gold all around the world. You name it, Zimbabwe, China, Russia, they're all doing it, and they're all working together against G7 countries. For the first time in decades, the G7 countries are no longer the greatest contributors to GDP. That is now BRICS Plus countries. So even now recently you've had Mexico apply and a ton of countries in South America and Europe and Asia. America fucked around and found out. And when I say America, I mean the US government and stuff. But I gotta go.
All right.
Thank you so much,
boss.
Marcel.
Thank you, Jeff. Santa,
God bless you all.
boss, appreciate you guys hopping by. Definitely, we need to do this again. You guys, we'll stay in touch and we'll make this happen again. Then we can answer some. Next time, let's do an AMA. Let's just start right out the gate with just questions from the group, and we'll get people ready for that. But appreciate you guys coming by. Santa, love you as always.
Love
Butcher,
you.
I'm not gonna say I love you. It just feels weird. But appreciate you.
We love you, boss. You know that. Thanks so much for the invite, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
both.
have a
Thank you,
great
everybody.
evening. All right, take care. Aloha.
All right.